This woman gently took off her clothes and stepped into the bathtub, softly pouring water over herself to bathe. She had noticed that someone had been secretly observing her for a while, but she didn't show any fear. Instead, she invited him to bathe together. The fat man quickly undressed and jumped into the water, not knowing that right after that, he had been bitten by a venomous snake hiding in the water. Not long after, the fat man's friend came looking for him, but the poison had already spread throughout his body. This fat man's name was Dejiang, a geographic magazine photographer. He and his friend were on an adventure. They had arrived at a small island in Southeast Asia where venomous snakes were scattered everywhere. This man lived in a small village in Vietnam, and his face was deformed, constantly in a state of high alert. When he saw the photo in Li Tong's hands, he remained calm. It find out that Mr. Tao was actually the subordinate of her father. That year, their team was assigned a challenging mission to deep into the jungle search for an extremely rare plant. Unfortunately, they got lost, and as fate would have it, they went on a mysterious island. On the island, snakes were everywhere, and there were even giant pythons. They fought desperately, trying to escape from the deadly coils, but the bullets and explosives were ineffective against the tough scales. At a critical moment, Li Tong's father threw a grenade, which immediately burst everything. Mr. Tao also got hit and lost consciousness. Before he could regain his senses, another larger snake appeared, ready to strike. However, a little girl approached and started playing a flute, scaring the snake away. When he woke up, he discovered that the little girl's family was living harmoniously with the snake. Their father gave him a notebook. Mr. Tao followed the instructions in the notebook and successfully escaped from the forest. However, his teammates had all disappeared. Li Tong and his group, relying on the guidance of the notebook, found the way to the dangerous island. Because of her father's love, although very dangerous, she did not mind at all. They continued to go deeper into the forest, encountering not only venomous snakes but also crocodiles. Exhausted and thirsty, finally they found a house. The owners of the house are two incredibly beautiful sisters, and they had a servant named Badu, who was a native of the island. Li Tong introduced his group as research scholars collecting materials for their articles. Sha became angry and stated that there was nothing worth researching on this island, urging them to leave quickly. Guqiu hurriedly explained that their boat would arrive to pick them up in 3 days. Due to a loss of phone signal, they hoped Lanran could let them stay. Faced with such urgency, she agreed. At first, Lanran seemed enthusiastic in welcoming the group, but when she saw the bracelet that Li Tong showed, she immediately changed her attitude and left without saying anything more. She reminded Sha not to help them, but Sha still going up the mountain with the Li Tong group. Lanran seemed unwilling, so she entrusted Badu to follow them and find an opportunity to erase all them. Meanwhile, the main group of characters were struggling to climb the mountain. The octagonal lotus is a flower that grow in dangerous terrain, and they expended lots of effort to reach their destination. However, as they were exploring the cave, they were attacked by a swarm of bats. They decided to take a rest for a while and then go down the mountain. Taking that opportunity, Li Tong thanked Sha for taking the risk to guide them. Sha says she was only following what her father had taught her. He was a very kind person. She had lived here since childhood, relying on gathering medicinal herbs to make a living. Her father had taught her to protect the snakes on the island, and the two sisters lived harmoniously with them. However, the good times didn't last long. One day, because of helping an outsider, her father was severely beaten by the whole villagers. Before passing away, her father specifically entrusted Lanran to protect her younger sister. As a result, she became particularly hostile towards outsiders and even turned ruthless towards the villagers. Anyone who made a mistake became food for the snakes. At this moment, Huazi discovered something in the camera. It turned out that Lanran had deceived Dejiang, and the scene was recorded. By the way, Sha revealed that Lanran wanted to kill all of them. Sha advised them to find the octagonal lotus quickly and then leave the island immediately. Upon hearing this, they decided to take immediate action. Huazi volunteered to open the way, but as he approached the edge of a pit, he hesitated and withdrew. Finally, it's still Sha who goes first. To be cautious, Liang was assigned to stand guard outside. As soon as they reached the designated location, Badu blew dart, causing Liang unconscious. After that, he prepared to cut the rope. At this moment, the Li Tong group carefully descended along the rocky wall. Sha discovered the octagonal lotus was on the rock wall. She was about to go over to pick, but tried several times to no avail. Sha's rope is blocked by the rock. Huazi was the closest to the flower. Li Tong instructed him to climb over and pick it, but Huazi was too scared of wetting his pants, just tightly held onto the rope. Guqiu saw the situation and decided to take action himself. He tried to get close to the flower. When Badu was about to cut the rope, he immediately ate a knife. A mysterious person slowly stepped forward, causing Badu to run away. Guqiu mustered all his strength and finally got the octagonal lotus. However, due to overweight, the rope is broken. Both Guqiu and Huazi immediately fell. Fortunately, there was a cord connected to the Li Tong group so they could still breathe. However, the thin rope couldn't carry the weight of all 4 people. Guqiu tells Sha to detach the connection with them, but Li Tong adamantly refused. In this critical situation, Guqiu tells Huazi to cut the rope. Sacrifice 2 people so that the remaining 2 could survive. Huazi gritted his teeth and cut the rope. The 2 quickly fell down, but thanks God they were still hanging on. The whole team of 4 was still fine. They had successfully obtained the octagonal lotus, and everyone are quickly to leave here. Huazi took out a signal flare to light up the surroundings, but Guqiu saw this, immediately took and threw it away. The heat from the flare will most likely to attract snakes. They can only rely on their flashlights to light the way. They go deeper into the cave and unexpectedly in the mountain caves appear traces of someone living. There were many words on the wall. Litong also discovered her own date of birth. Moreover, she found a necklace with a picture of her and her father. As suspected, her father was still alive. Litong felt deeply agitated and vowed to find him. Quickly, Shasha found the way out, and they rushed forward. On their way out, they encountered many snake eggs. Shasha warned everyone not to touch them to avoid attracting the appearance of the black snake. Just as she finished speaking, Hwazi slipped and stepped on one of the eggs, causing it to roll and break apart. The team froze for a moment, then quickly ran. The black snake saw the broken egg, became furious and immediately chased after them. The snake was close behind. Guchio shouted loudly, then quickly put down the backpack. Everyone split up in their own direction. The two girls with weak physical strength were lagging behind. Seeing that the black snake was about to devour them, Guchio rushed forward, attracting the snake's attention. The snake changed its target to Guchio. Guchio ran straight ahead, avoiding the snake's attack with agility. He did not dare to ignore for a second until regrouped with the others. But the snake also caught up. Hwazi immediately pulled out signal flare and flashed snakes. The snake opened its mouth and ate the signal flare. At this critical moment, the mysterious man appeared. He held onto the rope. Stepping on the snake, everyone was afraid to step back. The mysterious man stepped forward, taking off his head covering. Litong recognized him as her father. They each took out a piece of identical jade pendant. Finally, she met her father after all those days of separation. The two hugged each other and cried. It turned out that during the battle with the snakes many years ago, Litong's father was only knocked unconscious. When he woke up, he couldn't find his teammates and thought they had all sacrificed. Fortunately, he found a snake egg in the forest and cared for it until it hatched. He lived with the baby snake in the cave. Litong's father explained that the local villagers attacked them because they were forced by Lanran. She didn't want outsiders come to the island. If anyone dared to come, they would be dealt. Hearing this, everyone worried about Dejiang and Jina, so they immediately returned to check the situation. As expected, the two of them were being controlled by Lanran. Tied to a pillar, Shasha hurriedly went ahead and pulled Lanran into a room. Shasha wants to advise her sister to correct her mistakes. Don't make more mistakes. Kill innocent people again. Litong takes advantage of the two of them talking, secretly untied Dejiang and Jina. Unexpectedly, Badu suddenly appeared. Lanran also came out from the room. Lanran blew her flute to summon a giant snake. Litong's father immediately blew his flute to call his black snake. Two giant snakes engaged in a battle, but Lanran's snake proved to be stronger, and it killed the black snake. Litong used the bracelet that Mr. Tao gave her in an attempt to awaken Lanran's conscience, but she was blinded by hatred. Lanran ordered Badu to attack. Litong's father saw this and told her to leave first. While he stayed to deal with Badu, two men fight inconclusively. Jina also rushed in to fight Lanran. The two girls were evenly matched. Jina used the towel to wrap around Lanran's hand, steal the knife and thrust it towards the enemy. On this side, the two men fought each other to the point of defeat. In a crucial moment, Litong suddenly appeared. Badu saw this and immediately threw the knife in his hand. But Litong's father jumped in to shield her. He handed Litong to Guchio and closed his eyes peacefully. At the same time, Lanran was defeated. Though injured, she summoned a giant snake to attack Jina. Jina was thrown aside by the snake's attack. Jina picked up a grenade and threw it towards the snake. The snake was injured and couldn't distinguish between its side and enemy side. Lanran, in an effort to protect her sister, was swallowed by the snake. Jina carried Shasha, who was crying bitterly, to gather with others. The giant snake continued to pursue them. Suddenly the ground trembled violently, and a huge snake emerged from the sea, scaring the other giant snake away. Luckily, the huge snake didn't attack people, and after Shasha buried her sister, they all left the Snake Island. The movie ends here. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Hope to see you in the next videos on my YouTube channel. Remember to breath.